Hello everyone, this is Lexicon Architect coming at you with another budget commander list. And today we're going to be looking at Chishiro, um, the Shattered Blade. So this is a 4-mana girl commander that says whenever an aura or equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you will create a 2/2 spirit creature token with menace. And then at the beginning of your end step, you put a 1/1 counter on each modified creature you control. So the reminder text tells us that equipment, auras you control, and counters are considered to be modifications. So let's get into the creature package. We have 27. So we're going to be playing Arwen because it allows us to have our creatures enter in with additional 1/1 counters based on the toughness of this creature. Then Champion of the Lamholt to make our creatures unblockable, because whenever we play a creature spell, or when another creature ETBs under our control, put a 1/1 counter on it, and then creatures with power less than Champion of the Lamholt cannot block creatures you control. Next, we're going to be playing Defiler of Vigor, just have Phyrexian mana, and then whenever we cast a green permanent spell, we will put a 1/1 counter on each creature we control. Next, we play Forgotten Ancient, for the simple fact that whenever a player casts a spell, you put a counter on it, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, you can move those counters around in any way you like onto other creatures. Next, we have Goblin. So whenever it makes it quicker, and we can avoid the extra mana that we need to pay to cast the creature. Next, we have Grumguli the Generous. Non-human creatures you control enter the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. Then Halana Elena, because at the beginning of a combat, we can put X 1/1 counters on another creature, where X is Halana Elena's power, and that creature will gain haste. We play Incubation Druid for ramp, and if we can get a counter on it, we will generate 3 mana of any type of that type. Next, we play Kami of the Whisperer's Hopes as another mana dork. So if we put counters on this, it's going to add a ton of mana for us, but it also has a built-in Hardened Scales ability that whenever one or more counters are put onto a permanent you control, you put that many +1. Next, Kodama, because it gives our modified creatures trample, and it allows us to thin our deck and get lands, because whenever a modified creature deals combat damage to a player, you search your library for a basic land card and put that onto the battlefield tapped. Next, we have Komanu Battle Armor. It is an equipment dog with menace that gives the equipped creature +2/+2 in menace. And then whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you goad each creature that player controls. So basically, the way goad works is that if an opponent's creatures are goaded, they cannot attack you until your next turn, and then they are forced to attack your opponents if they can attack during their turn. Next, we have Kosi Pentient Warlord that says whenever it is enchanted, equipped, or has a counter on it, it has, whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards, and it deals that much damage to each other opponent. Next, we play Krenko, because whenever it attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on it, and then you create that many 1/1 Goblin tokens equal to its power. Then we play Lizard Blades, because it's going to trigger our commander when it ETBs, and we can reconfigure and equip it to a creature to give it double strike. Next, we play Managorger Hydra, because whenever a player casts a spell, you put a 1/1 counter on it. It also has trample, so this card can grow really huge, especially if your opponents do not deal with it ASAP. And if they don't deal with it ASAP, you're going to end up with a huge trampler that could possibly win you the game. Next, we play Merge Keeper, because it's a mana dork, and if it's modified, it'll add 2 green mana. Next, we play Primeval Protector. It's just a big old 10/10 that costs 1 less to cast for each creature your opponent controls, so maybe this card will only cost you 1 green. And if it does, it's going to enter the battlefield and put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, each other creature. Next, we play Rampant Rejuvenator. When it ETBs, it comes in with 2 1/1 counters on it, so it's a 2/2. But whenever it dies, you can search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is its power, and put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle your deck. Next, we play Renata because its power is equal to its devotion to green. But the payoff here is that each other creature you control enters the battlefield with additional 1/1 counter on it. This is good for our commander because at the beginning of our end step, all of our modified creatures will get another 1/1 counter on it, and then if we have something like Kami on board, we'll get an additional counter as well. Then we play Riskar because it allows us to put a 1/1 counter on up to 2 target creatures, and then those creatures, you can tap them to add green mana. Next, we play Secure Tribe Elder to sacrifice it, thin out our deck, and get a land. Cetacean Champion to draw cards whenever another enchantment ETBs onto our side of the battlefield. Next, Tangle Span Lookout. Whenever Aura ETBs under our control, we get to draw a card. Then Tanuki, that says whenever it or another equipped creature attacks, you add an amount of green mana equal to its power. Then until the end of the turn, you don't lose mana as steps and phases end. Then we play Torian Mauler, which is kind of similar to Mana Gorge or Hydra, except it only counts our opponent's spells, and it doesn't have trample, but I still think this is a good card because it's just going to get bigger. And if we have Kodama of the West Tree on the board, this has counters on it, it'll have trample. Next, we play Thundering Raiju because when it attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, and then Thundering Raiju deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures control other than Thundering Raiju. And then our last creature is Togo, that says whenever our land ETBs are under our control, we create a colorless equipment artifact token named Tap 1. Tap this, sacrifice the rock. This creature deals 2 damage to any target and equip 1. So the thing that's good about this card is we're generating equipment tokens, and then this is going to trigger our commander to allow us to make a 2/2 red token with menace, and then obviously at the end step, you put a 1/1 counter on each modified creature you control. For sorceries, you're playing 6, Cultivate to ramp, Harmonize to draw, Kodama's Reach to ramp, Overwhelming Stampede as our late game winner, Rampant Growth to ramp, some Shamanic Revelation to draw cards and gain life, Entrance Restoration to get lands out of our deck, Gaia's Gift to protect a creature, Heroic Intervention to protect our board from board wipes, Return of the Wild Speaker to draw cards or pump the squad, Snake Scale for protection, and Tamiyo's Safekeeping for protection. For artifacts, we're going to be playing Signet, Command Sphere, Gruul Signet, Lightning Greaves, Nettle Cyst, Skull Clamp, Soul Ring, Sword of the Animus, and Talisman of Impulse. For enchantments, we're going to be playing Audacity, Bear Umbra, Court of Garenbrig, which is a new card that says when it ETBs, we become the Monarch, and then at the beginning of our upkeep, distribute 2 1/1 counters among up to 2 other creatures. And then if you are a Monarch, you can double the number of 1/1 counters on each creature you control. Then we play Draconic Destiny to give a creature +1/+1 flying haste, and tap 1 to give that creature +1/+0 to the end of the turn. It's a dragon, and then whenever the enchanted creature dies, this comes back to our hand. Then we play Giant Inheritance because it gives enchanted creature +5/+5, and then whenever it attacks, you make a monster roll token attached to 1 target attacking creature. The reminder text says enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and have trample, and then whenever this is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. Next, we play Hydra's Growth to double counters, Invigorating Hot Spring to remove counters from it and put counters onto other creatures. Keen Sense to draw cards. One with the Kami to generate a bunch of spirit tokens whenever the enchanted creature dies or a modified creature dies equal to its power. Ordeal of Nalia, because whenever an enchanted creature attacks, you put a counter on it. If it has 3 or more counters on it, you sacrifice it. And then when you sacrifice this card, you search your library for 2 basic lands and put them onto the battlefield. Then we play Rancor Rhythm of the Wild to give our non-token creatures Riot, so they can either come in with a choice of a 1/1 counter on haste, and creature spells you control cannot be countered. Then we play Runa Right, Snake Umbra, Sticky Fingers, and Unquenchable Fury that says whenever this creature attacks, it deals X damage to defending player, where X is the number of cards in your hand. And then whenever this is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you return it to your hand. As far as lands go, we're doing the general mill of cards. So the only one that I believe we need to talk about is Mosswork Bridge, because it has Hideaway 4. So you get to then you can play you can pay 1 green to tap this and exile the card. You play the exile card without paying its mana cost if the total power of all your creatures are 10 or greater. So that is the deck in a nutshell. As you can see here, we curve at 3, and this deck is going to cost you around $175. So this video will be uploaded to YouTube shortly with all my social media links, and I hope you have a good day.